Did the Flames even put up a real performance, or did the Rangers just not show up at all?
You're Locked On Flames, your daily podcast on the Calgary Flames. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's episode of Locked On Flames. As always, I am your host, Jess Belmosto, and thank you so much for joining me. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Today, we are going to recap the 2-1 victory over the New York Rangers and just how big of a difference this game was, like the second half of a back-to-back against the Rangers on the road. Make sure you're subscribed to Locked On Flames wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And let's jump right into this. I have to say, one of the biggest difference makers tonight was Matt Coronato. He's from the area, so it's a hometown game for him. His family was there. It was nice to see, have him come back. And, I'm sure there's people who he would love to prove wrong sitting in that crowd. So it's great to see. And he scored right off of a face-off that he had won. And he just looked hungry the entire game. He'd gotten a glove and a stick, I think, or it was 2 gloves. It was too hard to tell, to his face multiple times, and, he brushed it off like a champ and, didn't let it take away from his work ethic and what he needed to do out on the ice. And I really feel like he had a huge, huge game, and Huberdeau as well. I think that he had, let's see here. I want to double check. Yeah, he had 5 shots on goal tonight. He probably would have had at least 2 goals if Igor Shesterkin did not play like Igor Shesterkin. It is absolutely phenomenal performance from Huberdeau, just uh, generating those high danger chances, really great shots. And I know it's kind of obnoxious and ridiculous to say, oh, like vintage Huberdeau is back, because he has a 24 goal season, but it just looked like there was confidence in his game. And that has been one of the biggest issues for Huberdeau in his time as a Flame. We know that he has struggled big time, and he lost his footing along the way and has been able to get it back. And I love to see that. I think a lot of people are very happy and grateful to see that. I would also argue that Morgan Frost was a huge part of this game as well. He had 2 huge blocks and 3 shots. He did not find himself on the score sheet, but I do have to say, physically, or, he looked, this was his best performance as a Flame, I would say. I thought that he looked strong, he looked comfortable, he was part of the playmaking, he was part of attempting to execute that, and really just meshed well. And the team as a whole just played well in comparison to the Rangers. I mean, we're going to talk about it next, but holy smokes, the Flames smoked the Rangers in terms of shots on goal, and that's not like the Flames at all. So I do think that it's more than just who found the score sheet tonight. And, Dan Vladar did start the 3rd period last night against Toronto. So coming in today makes sense. I'm sure last night wasn't expected, but he still looked great tonight. Stopped 12 out of 13 shots. So it's great to see. I really feel like this game might be a little bit of a false hope and a little bit of, slipping those rose-colored glasses back on because of how well they looked and how well, how good these numbers look. Um, Blake Coleman had a very big game as well. He threw 4 hits and then 3 shots, and then the empty net goal that he scored was offside, so they called it back, but he looked great, and I think, like, the biggest thing for me when I'm looking at these difference makers, what did you do outside of your score sheet? Great. You know, I mean, Coleman's not a good example of this, but I feel like what he did on his in-game stats translates to what we saw on the ice, and it passes the stats and eye test, like a fair balance of it. Because there are some nights where some players will rattle off 4 or 5 shots, and throw a big hit, but none of it really looked good or looked pretty. So, not even pretty, it just didn't contribute to the game. Um, but coming up next, we are going to talk about the game by the numbers and just how horrible the Rangers played tonight. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, developing, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with the top freelancers across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need the right help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivers incredible results. Visit upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's upwork.com. Again, upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. And of course, I do want to tell you about one of our other sponsors, and that would be Game Time. There's nothing like watching live basketball, the energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers on the hardwood, and maybe even a celebrity sighting courtside. If you want to catch a game in person, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Game Time's new feature, Game Time Picks, filters out the fluff and shows you only the best deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time scrolling through thousands of tickets. I used Game Time Picks earlier this week to secure my tickets for next month at the Dome, San Jose. When San Jose comes to town, I had no idea where I wanted to sit. I just knew I wanted a good deal, and I was able to snag great seats at a great price. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me today on Locked On Flames. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week, your team every day. And I have to say that I am thoroughly impressed with the Flames. Not because they, did some impossible task or, they put up 8 goals after having 6 scored against them last night. Nothing of that sort of extravagance. I thought that They looked good bouncing back from that humiliating, demoralizing, insulting loss last night to a 2-1 victory over the Rangers. And the reason why I think I'm so I don't want to say I'm impressed. I think that they exceeded my expectations in terms of the second half of a back to back. Um because I mean they won. They looked good. The Rangers struggled. The only Ranger out on the ice as far as I'm concerned was Shesterkin. Um JT Miller, I don't really know what I forget. I think it was Kevin Ball who speared JT Miller in the first period. It's like he was saying like that's for concussed, leaving Kevin Rooney concussed at the start of the season. Not great, but I will say I liked what we saw from the Flames. I do expect more, but considering what they were up against, they looked like a great team ready to take over the Western Conference. That might be a little bit dramatic, but let's break it down by the numbers. Let's start with the fact that the Flames outshot the Rangers 35-13. Yes, that is 35-13. I this is where you get me. Um for this team to do that in back-to-back games, I believe they had 28 shots last night against Toronto. So it's still up there, but for a team that struggles to generate offense and sometimes that forgets how to shoot the puck, I like this. I do. I think that this is a positive sign. We see what happens when you shoot the puck. You get gorgeous, gorgeous goals from Matt Coronato. I want to see more of this. I do. I know that, it's almost the end of the season and we should have been seeing more of this, but it's great to see Coronato refining his skills. He had, I wanted just to double check here. He had 5 shots on goal as well tonight. Him and Huberdeau both had 5. I mean, if anyone was bound to score tonight, it was going to be Huberdeau, but both of them were relentless. They were going to shoot the puck wherever, whenever, and the effort from both of them was there. It's not for a lack of trying on, Huberdeau's part. Shesterkin just became Shesterkin. Um, Whenever Huberdeau shot a puck his way, and he looked good. And I don't even want to know what would have happened had Shesterkin struggled even a little bit. But let's talk about where things also improved from last night. They won 28% of their faceoffs last night, and tonight you're looking at 41.1%. Morgan Frost won a faceoff as well as Matt Coronato, who scored off of that faceoff. Great to see. I mean, we've talked a lot about the Flames struggling at the dot, and then with Backlund being gone for an indefinite amount of time, you don't know what what it's going to look like there. I thought that they would have used Connor Zary as a center, especially with Dryden Hunt being scratched. Keeping Sharon Govich at center is definitely a choice. I don't know what Ryan Huska is thinking there, but the cannot talk. Excuse me. The hits were pretty evenly matched. Flames had 36. Rangers had 37. The Flames had 11 takeaways. Like, did the Rangers even show up? Because I don't know. You could have said, yeah, no, they threw out like the Pee Wee team. I would have believed you because they just looked bad. They did not look like a professional hockey team. Like they looked like the Flames from last night. And I think a lot of this came, the lack of work ethic. Because I'm in New York, I had to listen to the MSG broadcast, and it was interesting hearing the broadcast be so honest about the way the Rangers just didn't show up, and there wasn't really they weren't putting in the work, and I don't know if we've ever really heard that from Sportsnet. So I I'm just good for the Flames for walking all over them. Maybe this is like the straw that breaks the camel's back and Laviolette gets fired. I don't know. I like to think the Flames are just kind of like truly like the gasoline on a fire. Like they're the straw that breaks the camel's back for so many of these teams. Because nothing says we don't believe in you quite like you can't even beat the Flames on the second half of a back-to-back where they got demolished. So shout out to the Flames. I'm really impressed. Connor Zary, first game back from his suspension, free that man. 4 shots on goal. Just can't get too crazy, can't get too greedy there. It's nice to see. I want to see him at center, but it is what it is, I guess. The only 2 defensemen without a shot on goal tonight were Rasmus Anderson and Miramonov. Kevin Ball had 4. Good for him. Hey, I'm not going to sit here and say don't shoot the puck. I wish y'all would defend a little better, but you did well tonight. So congrats. Take tomorrow off. I think going to New Jersey, so they don't have a long flight. I mean, you could really put them on a bus if you wanted to. But anyways, I'm just thoroughly impressed with how they looked. Joel Farabee again I was looking at the wrong column. I thought that said Martin Pospisil had 8 shots. And I was like, how did I miss that? No, Martin Pospisil had 8 hits. Honestly, every time the Flames play the Rangers, I just expect Pospisil and Rempe to get into this like penalty off. But I think Pospisil's reined it in a little bit since the start of the season. So we'll take it. But coming up next, we're going to wrap up the show and discuss what is on the radar as the Flames continue on their final East Coast swing here on Locked On Flames.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Thanks everyone for hanging out with me. Make sure you're following me on Twitter and Blue Sky at Jess Belmosto. With this game came a few lineup changes. Obviously, Zary was back in. Dryden Hunt was scratched. Braden Pahal, after an abysmal performance in Toronto, was scratched. And Sharon Govich stayed at center. I don't know. I really don't know how else to justify some of Huska's decisions other than he has like non-refundable tickets for like the day after the season ends. I truly don't know. Because to me, I'm looking at this team and I'm saying Michael Backlund is out indefinitely. So we're already weak down the middle. You need someone to win faceoffs. Okay. And you like and want to see Zary used at center more. You could have scratched Dryden Hunt, moved Sharon Govich to the wing, a wing, any wing, chicken wing, and put Zary at center. You could have. Like that option was there. And I don't really know the rationale behind it, other than, is Zary still working himself back from injury? I don't think so. I'm not a medical expert, but I wrote about this last week for the win column. Just how, please don't waste the crucial developmental time frame for Connor Zary. I think overall what really helped the Flames tonight was the Rangers just not showing up. They were able to kind of play up, and it didn't might not have been 100%, but the Rangers weren't sniffing anything close to where they were. So it didn't necessarily matter that both teams looked meh. Also, Kadri and Huberdeau played on separate lines for the first time, I believe, since the end of November. So since like right after American Thanksgiving. That was like the start of the season, basically. So I've liked those two together all season long. I do think that, breaking them up is fine. It wasn't like a punitive thing or because things weren't working. I mean, hey, Kadri scored tonight and Huberdeau had 5 shots on net. Like, I'm impressed with what we have seen. I think that it is something that can continue to be worked on and ironed out. I mean, depending on how these next few games go, you could, if there's nothing to lose here, then maybe you try any sort of line combinations. They're not at that point. This time last year, they absolutely were. And we saw that immediately after the trade deadline, where they were shuffling and moving and doing whatever they could to try as many variations as possible. And that's what a good coach does when these situations arise, because you don't want to waste precious time next year figuring this out when you could have used the end of this season to kind of build, like, not even lay a foundation, but like a blueprint. Look at some blueprints of what your roster could be. I do think that because the Flames are still very much in the thick of the playoff race, Huska's not going to do that. I really wish that we would see some of the younger kids come up. I wish that we got to see some Jeremy Poirier. I wish that we got to see more of Rory Currens. I guess, I feel like a lot was missed. There's been a lot of missed opportunities, and I'm not sure I necessarily agree with it, but I guess there's still like a month left, so maybe there's still some time to prove me wrong. I think ahead of the next game, I would probably put Zary at center, keep Huberdeau and Kadri separated. Let's see how Braden Pahal does, because I feel like you have to keep him on a short leash. Otherwise, things just spiral out of control. And I would start Dustin Wolf. He has to come back from Monday and say, okay, I gotta be better. I do not think Monday's performance was, or the outcome of Monday's game was a direct, response or was anything that Wolf did wrong. It wasn't. So I want to see him bounce back tomorrow. Not tomorrow. They definitely do not play tomorrow. Thursday. And I mean, fingers crossed that there's some sort of epiphany that that comes to Ryan Huska in a dream or like in a grilled cheese or something, saying that Connor Zary should be at center. But that'll do it for me here on today's episode of Locked On Flames. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I hope you have a fantastic week. It's Tuesday night now when I'm recording. Maybe it's Wednesday when you're listening to this, and you are, enjoying your ride to work with a cup of coffee, because clearly I need one. But that'll do it for me here, folks. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcasts, as well as YouTube. We're here for you Monday through Friday, 5 days a week. Your Calgary Flames every day. And I will see you all on Wednesday to break down some more numbers ahead of the rest of the season.